Welcome to the Collide Kids podcast, hosted by Christen Clark. This is a show for kids and families. You are going to meet new people and have fun while you listen. Let's do it!
Hey y'all, Happy New Year! It's 2021. We made it. We are finally done with 2020. Can you believe it? Well, welcome to the Collide Kids podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Christen Clark. The Collide Kids podcast is a show for kids and families where we learn together how life and faith collide. You know, yesterday was my birthday. Thank you. Thank you for saying happy birthday. I don't know if any of you have a holiday birthday like me. My birthday is on New Year's Eve. So I like to claim all the celebration and fireworks and festivities is actually for my birthday. Now, I know it's really not, but it's still fun to pretend. So if you celebrated the new year, did you celebrate with a party or something fun with your family? Well, then you celebrated my birthday too. So thank you. Thank you for celebrating with me. Well, I wanted to start off 2021 with lots of enthusiasm, and I could not think of a more energetic and fun person to bring on the show than my special guest today, and his name is Jon Williams. From an early age, Jon Williams has been an actor. Having performed in multiple plays, television shows, and movies, he found that his skill set has become a surprising way to let people know about God and the truth and the stories that reside in the Bible. Jon works for a company called Orange as a writer and chief innovative officer of strategic fun. Yup, that's his official job title, where he has been allowed to use his love of performing and creating to play a small part in what God is doing in our churches and communities. From MC Haggis to Horvath and a guest host on the So-and-So Show, he believes that laughter is the best way to introduce the world to Jesus. I am so excited to share my conversation today with Jon Williams.
Cool.
Jon, I am so excited to have you on the show. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Wow. We're here. 2021.
I know.
Exciting.
I can't believe it. It was the longest year ever.
It felt like it was the longest year ever. It did. But, some good things came out of it too. I think, I had a lot more time to rest and reflect, which was nice. But yeah, I don't want to repeat that year.
I'm good if we don't do that again. We had what we used to call forced family fun, like where mom forced us to have fun together in some form of activities. And that was the motto of 2020, forced family fun.
Family fun.
You don't have a choice. You just have to.
There's nothing more fun than when fun is forced upon you.
That's right. One year growing up, my parents took us to Disney World.
Yeah.
And I think we were arguing in the back seat or something. My dad was like, you know what? We're at Disney. We're going to have fun and we're going to enjoy today. Okay? And we're like, yep. Sounds good.
We have all been there as a parent. In fact, I have a similar story when we went to Disney recently with our, last year, I think. The year before last year, because we didn't go anywhere last year. We were standing in line at the merry-go-round, and a little girl was crying, and her dad was standing next to her, and he had a sad face, and he just said, "Honey, this is the happiest place on earth." Just looked miserable. I just thought that was hysterical.
Like Christmas. Well, as a parent, you understand that. Like when I was a kid,
Totally.
I was like, is this what we do at every vacation, Dad? But when I understood how much he paid for it, being a parent, taking my kids to Disney, I was like, yeah, we're going to have fun. And you guys are going to like it.
Fun.
You're going to eat whatever I tell you to eat. You're going to ride whatever I tell you to ride.
That's exactly right. But
Well, I'd love for you to tell our listeners who you are. So give us just a little intro about who you are and what you do.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm Jon Williams. I work for a company called Orange. I help develop and write curriculum for churches to use across the country. And I create video products as well. One of the things I create with my co-writer is a show called the So-and-So Show.
Yes,
And
love the So and So show.
oh, thank you. And I co-host that with my buddy Brandon. And so I've been writing with him with Rethink for, wow, 14 years, I think. So we've been creating video products and materials for about 14 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's what I do. I'm also a professional actor as well. So I'm also pursue acting career on the side as well. And that's a lot of fun. I've been acting since I was in second grade. And um, yeah, so that's a little. I have an awesome wife named Sunny. She's awesome, and I've got my 16-year-old daughter Dora and my 10-year-old son Bobby,
That's
and
awesome.
they are a blast. They keep me young because they're so funny. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's really cool. Well,
yeah,
good. I'm excited to hear about your story and all the things that you do. But this really is a show for kids and families. And so
yeah.
we love to always start out with something. I feel like we kind of did though in that intro. But but I always like to ask my guests if they have like a good joke or maybe a funny impression. So what you got?
Man, you know what's so funny is I do comedy for a living for kids, and I'm horrible at jokes and horrible at, let me see. Oh, one of my acting heroes is that I grew up on is Bugs Bunny.
Okay.
So I used to walk around the. This is a horrible impression. I used to walk around the house saying, "Hey, what's up, Doc?" You know, that's it. That's about as good as I get when it comes to impressions.
Wow.
And most of the time, what's funny about me is just my face. So
Oh.
that's the.
Well, this is
that
not a video podcast,
I know.
so
Sadly, no one
they don't
can
get to
can
see
hear
it.
my face. Right.
If you'd like to see his face, you can go on our social media and check that out.
Oh, cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. Very cool.
All right. Well, so I know you as one of the co-hosts of the So and So show,
Right.
which is our church uses that as curriculum for our Sunday morning programming. And I think a
Oh,
lot of
very cool.
churches do that.
Mhm.
So tell us a little bit about that. Like what is it that you love about creating content for churches?
Well, you know what's funny is I really didn't grow up in church
Really?
as a kid. Yeah, I
Hmm.
came to faith kind of later on in my life, and what I love to do is create curriculum, and that I would have liked to have seen when I was a kid, the curriculum that I didn't get, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And I am naturally sort of very serious about being silly. And
Yeah.
so I really enjoy the idea of creating curriculum where kids are laughing and having a blast while learning about who God is and who God made them to be. Because I don't know about you, but I tend to remember things that I was laughing hysterically at better than I do when I was thinking deeply. Like all those deep thoughts I had,
Yeah.
they've gone away, but I can instantly remember a moment when I was laughing really hard. And so I try to, I love that I get to work for a company that lets me infuse fun and laughter with learning about this awesome God that
Yeah.
we follow. So
Yeah, that's awesome. And so you
yeah.
said you got started into acting when you were in second grade. So tell us a little bit about that. How did that start?
Well, reluctantly, I had a second grade teacher who saw something in me, I think, really uh, encouraged me. I say encouraged, but basically forced me to be in the school's Christmas play. And
Okay.
I didn't want to be in it because the school Christmas play rehearsed during recess. And I didn't want to miss
Oh.
recess because I loved playing soccer. I wanted to go out and play soccer, right?
Hmm.
So I was like, I don't want to do this thing. And, I was a bunny who had lost his ears. And for Christmas, he was hoping for new ears. It's such a strange play. Anyway,
I don't
but
remember
as
that one
soon
being
as
in the Bible.
yeah, it was not in the Bible at
Okay.
all, Old Testament or New,
Okay.
but I loved it. Once I started doing it, I really enjoyed it, and I think I realized, oh, I have a skill to make people laugh, or I have a skill to get up in front of people and entertain them, and so I really like that. So I continued to
Yeah.
pursue that for the rest of my life, really. So I'm very thankful that Mrs. Gorman, second grade teacher at Union Elementary in Cincinnati, Ohio,
Oh, wow.
forced me to be in that play because it changed my life.
That's awesome. And so
Yeah.
you started in there, and then did you do like a play every year in school, or how did that continue on?
Yeah, I got really involved in my in theater classes all throughout elementary school. Where I grew up, there was always a theater class, which I loved. And so I did that in elementary school, middle school. I would usually end up doing 3 to 4 plays a year. And did that all throughout high school as well, and really, really started loving it in high school. And by the way, the cool thing about acting was my dad worked for the government, worked for the CDC, so we moved about every 3 years. So we moved to different states. I think the only states I've not been in are Maine and North Dakota and Alaska. So we moved quite a bit. But the theater kind of gave me an instant in. It kind of gave me a chance to meet new people and just kind of jump in with 2 feet. So I was, grateful for that. So that probably helped me stay in the theater as well.
Yeah, because you needed that friend group and that connection.
Yeah. And as soon as you jump into something, that big giant school that you don't know anybody, suddenly becomes smaller. So yeah, it helped. Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
Yeah, I continued to act, and then I went to college, and that's what I majored in. I majored in theater at Florida State University.
Oh wow.
And then just started doing it professionally around the Southeast. So it was it's been a passion of mine since 2nd grade. It's just been there forever, and I'm just grateful God keeps opening opportunities for me to use those abilities. So.
Yeah. Do you prefer the stage type of acting? Like, do you prefer theater, or do you prefer being, in front of a camera?
Man, that's really hard. So the cool thing about theater is when you start a play, like there's no stopping. Like once the play starts, you just get to go straight through the play. And if somebody messes up, you got to cover for it, and you got to just keep going. And the cool thing about that too is there's an audience there, so you can hear the response, you can hear laughter, you can hear, and that's really neat when you can figure out instantly whether or not your audience likes what you're doing or is connecting with you. So I love that aspect about theater. I do like, the more I've started doing film work as an actor, I really enjoy, like, theater is like really big and grandiose. Really what we do on the So-and-So Show is more of a theater style of acting. It's very big. Or performing. I wouldn't say I'm acting per se. I'm just doing a larger version of myself, right? And so that's very theater. Whereas most film work, you can be more subtle, you can be more still, you can be more quiet. And the more I've done film work, camera work for TV or movies or things like that, the more I've really started liking that aspect of it, that you can just be a little bit more calm, a little bit more yourself, and not have to put on so much of a high energy performance, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, totally. I haven't done a whole lot of film acting, but I do enjoy, I've been in quite a few musicals, and so I enjoy that part of it. I just really liked that feeling, like you said, the energy from the audience.
Oh yeah.
I have done some things, like for our church, we do like announcement videos, and they have a teleprompter. And so I just have to read the teleprompter. That's all I have to do. And I don't know. But
I know exactly what you're about to say. Yeah.
Who put a question mark in the teleprompter? Like if it's in the teleprompter, I will read it. And it's pretty. So anyway, I that type of stuff, it's so good when you can go, okay, stop. Okay, we got to do that again.
Yeah. I am exactly the same way. Anytime we use a teleprompter, if I will just read what's on the screen. So, I mean, and I've had some people put some silly things in there, like, and today I'm extra smelly. And I'm like, I don't remember that being in the script. And
but
the
you
person
just read
running,
it.
the person running
it's
the
this
teleprompter
moving, it's these moving words. And if you don't read it, you miss it. And they got to go back and start all over again. So you're trying to just keep up. And
It's true. If it's there, I will say it.
Yeah. But I do love that they can edit those things and they can fix those things. And that's the hardest thing about film is I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but like, especially kids who watch TV shows and things like that, everything in movies and TV is shot out of order.
So
Right.
you don't shoot everything. Like when you're watching a show, it has a clear beginning and an end. Well, when you're shooting stuff, you're shooting it all the scenes totally out of order. So as an actor, I think one of the coolest things to have to figure out, and one of the hardest things is, you could shoot two scenes that same day, and one you're laughing hysterically, and then one is later on in the show and you're completely sad and crying, and it's just a strange kind of switch you have to be able to flip between those scenes. But yeah, that's the toughest thing about film acting for me is not being able to shoot everything in order. So that's a weird thing.
Yeah. And then the best part I think about, or one of the hardest things I think about theater is
Mm-hmm.
you don't stop. Like if you
Yeah.
mess up like you did, like,
Mm-hmm.
like you say something you're not supposed to, or you
Mm-hmm.
fall down, or
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like
Oh
you do
yeah.
something completely, you have to keep going, and no, the audience can't know.
Let me tell you a funny story. Can I tell you a funny story about that?
Sure.
I was doing a musical called You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
Okay. I've done that one.
And yeah. And I was playing the role of Linus. And so there's this big musical number that Linus does called My Blanket and Me. Okay. And he does this sort of dance routine with his blanket, right? And so I leave the stage and I'm supposed to go backstage, which is behind all the scenery and stuff. There's this area called the backstage. And I would cross backstage to go to the other side of the stage to make my entrance. Well, I was running late. And so I did something you're never supposed to do in theater. I ran backstage, and backstage is completely dark, so you can't see anything. That's why you shouldn't run backstage. But I was running backstage, and there was a platform backstage that was raised about 4 inches. And when I was running to get to the other side of the stage, my foot slipped under this platform, and I basically face planted onto this platform so hard that I immediately bounced back up. And I was stunned, and I felt like I couldn't feel my foot. And I was like, what just happened? What just happened? Oh, I'm supposed to be on stage. So I walk out on stage, and right before I'm supposed to walk out there, I realize I have broken my foot. So I'm supposed to go out and do this song and dance number, dance and sing with a broken foot. And I do it. But basically, I totally throw out all the choreography, all of the dancing, and I just use my blanket as a sling to carry my foot in while I'm on stage singing.
Oh my gosh.
But you can't stop. The show has to keep going, and then after the show, you go get medical help. So, so that's
well,
what.
and adrenaline kicks in because you don't even feel it. You're just like, one track mind. I got to get this done. I got to say my part or sing my part or whatever.
Yeah, there was a little bit of tingling happening in my foot, and I felt my foot swelling, and I was like, I think I just broke my foot, but I can't think about that. So all that adrenaline's going, and you go out there and perform, and then, yep, sure enough, I broke my foot. So for the rest of the run of that show, Linus had a cast on his foot.
So tell us about how your faith in God applies to acting. We'll be right back after this. You know, raising kids in the digital age isn't easy, but Bark Technology makes products that help parents keep their kids safe online and in real life. They have an app, a phone, and a home device that lets families set parental controls on their internet-connected devices. I love the app because it helps us manage screen time and blocks websites and apps we want our kids to avoid. It also sends alerts and gives us the ability to monitor texts and social media and even track your child's location. Visit bark.us to learn more about how you can keep your kids safe online. Use the code COLLIDEKIDS to get 15% off your subscription of the Bark app.
I love this question because if I'm being honest, I think in my younger years, I first got into acting because I liked all the attention, which is kind of selfish, right? But the more I started studying acting and researching acting and what makes an actor really good is I started realizing that God was showing me that biblical principles actually make you a better actor. For instance, like the three main things I think about all the time as an actor that I utilize, that I feel like God keeps telling me, this is important, is the number one thing is to listen to other people, to listen to the other actors. A lot of times you can get on stage and you can be like, well, I'm going to say all my lines and I'm going to do, it's all about me. But really, a good actor makes it all about the other people on stage. A good actor gives all of their attention, all of their ear attention to somebody else, to hear what they're saying and value everything that's coming out of their mouth. Even if that person's playing a good guy or a villain, as an actor, you're giving all your attention to them. It's not about you anymore. It's about the other person. The other thing I learned too is sometimes there's this idea that I actually get this question a lot. People are like, so since you're an actor, you must be a good liar. And I was like, no, I'm actually a horrible liar. But there is sort of that idea that acting is lying. And I understand that because you're playing a character that's not you. So that seems kind of, but really in order to make a character believable, you have to be as honest as possible. You have to be as open. You have to be willing to share all your strengths as a person, as an actor, and pour that into your character, and as well as maybe some of your weaknesses, maybe some of the things you're not good at, or maybe even character flaws. But I think that kind of honesty is something that I always feel like God is constantly coming back to me and going, man, I love it when you're honest with me. I love it when, you and I are talking, we're praying. I love it when you don't try to put on a face. I love it when you just tell me, listen, this is how I'm feeling, or this is what I'm struggling with, or this is what I feel really good about. He just wants to hear everything from you, from your heart. And it's not like he doesn't already know it, but I think he just really enjoys hearing it from you. So I think that as an actor, learning that honesty is actually what makes you a good actor has also impacted my faith, and vice versa. My faith has impacted my acting, that honesty. And then the third thing is, sometimes I play a character that doesn't have the same beliefs that I do, or doesn't have the same mindset that I do, or doesn't make the same choices that me, Jon Williams, the human being, would make. But one of the biggest things that you learn as an actor is never judge your character. Never go into a character and immediately judge them. Find out why they're making these choices. Find out why this character says this or believes that. Find out why. And that kind of forces you to, this is a kind of a big word, but that kind of forces you to empathize. It forces you to put yourself in this character's shoes. And I feel like that skill is also a massive skill that I think as Christians, I think it can be really easy sometimes to look at somebody else and judge them versus saying, well, they're created by God. God loves them too. And maybe I disagree with them, but maybe I should put myself in their shoes and understand where they're coming from. And I think sometimes that opens up amazing doors. And maybe you actually discover you have more in common than you have different. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So it creates open lines of communication. It creates, I think it breaks down that desire to be judgy or judge somebody else immediately. When you take the time to get to know somebody else. So I think those three aspects of acting that make you a good actor are also three things I feel strongly that God asks us to do with our friends, with our coworkers, even if it's just a chance meeting. Acting kind of has helped me try to step into somebody else's shoes before making any snap judgments. So those are three of my favorite things about it.
Yeah, that's really good. I think it's really important that we always do that, like that we always think about what the other person's going through. And because I know, like, I've had a bad day or I've been in pain. Like if you're ever sick or in pain, it's really hard to be nice to people,
It really is.
You're like, I just feel terrible. Just give me my stuff. I just want to go, and so sometimes you can't help it. I mean, we have to be careful, but
Yeah, yeah.
About that, I always think about like people that drive really crazy and like cut someone off in traffic. I always
Yes.
say they must have somewhere to be.
Yeah.
Like
They
they must
must have
have an
somewhere to be.
appointment they're about to miss, because that's what I
Yeah.
would do if I was late for an appointment.
Yeah, or even worse, sometimes I've even thought, oh, maybe somebody's sick and they're trying to get to them. Or maybe, I don't
Never
know.
know. Right.
Yeah, yeah. So, and it kind of dispels sort of that, that desire to be grumpy and grouchy, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. And I think that that's something that Jesus has taught us about empathy. What
Oh,
do you think it is about empathy that that Jesus was best at showing us in scripture?
oh, well, I mean, I, I feel like Jesus was the master. Well, he is the master, but he's also the master of empathy. The way he would approach people that sadly back then, what would be the equivalent of churchy people, right?
Right.
Didn't want anything to do with. But Jesus himself would, through his empathy, would say, hey, I know you. I know what you're going through, and I'm here for you. And I think that I have one of my favorite verses. If you don't mind me jumping into that.
Sure.
Yeah, it's actually two verses. It's Hebrews 4:15 and 16. And I love this. It says, for we do not have a high priest who is unable to empathize with our weaknesses, but we have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are. Yet he did not sin, which is much different than us, right?
Right.
Let us then approach God's throne of grace with confidence so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. I just love that verse that Jesus, God, showed up and said, I'm going to experience everything you're experiencing. I'm going to experience the things that are really hard for you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try, and not try, I am going to model, what it is to live life and the way I want you to live life. But then when he dies, he resurrects, he goes back to heaven. He doesn't forget all that. He totally empathizes with the things that we struggle with, the things that hurt us, the things that excite us, even the things that bring us joy. And I love that. He is the king of empathy, and for the creator of everything, the creator of the universe, to decide to come down and take on our form as in a body, and it's just mind blowing. So again, that goes back to acting again. It motivates me when I'm acting, and maybe I'm playing a villain, somebody who I don't like, but it really makes me go, what is, how would Jesus approach this person? And how would Jesus find out what's going on with this person? And what's really going on? And then, to not judge, but to try to care for this person while I'm trying to create this person who's different than me. I think about that all the time when I'm acting. So Jesus is always constantly there with me, no matter what kind of role I'm playing.
And that's such a great verse coming out of the Christmas season, where we've talked about how Jesus is God. He's Emmanuel, God with us.
God with us.
He took on a lowly position. He didn't come in sparkling, glittery, angel-like robes and everything. He came as a little baby, and he was born in a barn.
A barn.
Yeah. And we celebrate that. We have those little displays all over our houses, which I still have to clean mine up. It'll probably stay up until February with all my Christmas decorations. But I love that we can look at that we can see that Jesus was, he took on flesh. And so he could, like you said, he can empathize with us and understand us even better.
It's great. Honestly, I think, talking about being a new year too, I think we just came out of a year where it was real easy for a lot of us to quickly judge each other, and to quickly judge our friends or our coworkers or even relatives or family members. And, I'm hoping that this next year we can really lean back into listening to each other, being honest with each other, but also totally empathizing with each other. And I think that would go a long way into healing our communities that have, that are at such odds at the moment.
Absolutely. So, well, it is the first day of 2021. So are
Oh man,
you, can you believe it?
I
Uh,
know.
so do you have any like New Year's resolutions? Do you do that every year where you have goals or things you want to try to change?
I kind of do. Usually my New Year's resolution is to not give up on my New Year's resolution.
I love it.
Yeah, but yeah, I think I've got a few. I think I want to get back into shape. I think I'm
Okay.
trying to get a little healthier. Because man, you know, I love candy. I probably ate my weight in peppermint and pie and oh, it's so bad. It's so bad for me, especially as I'm getting older. So I'm trying to get a little bit better about eating healthier and exercising a little better. So
That's awesome. I
yeah.
consider myself a hospitality eater. In other words, if you make something, I feel bad if I don't try it. So it's dangerous, like during like the potluck or like when everybody brings in their special
Oh,
dessert. I feel obligated to try everyone's food, and I feel bad if I don't. And so I'm just like painfully
wow,
full. And yeah,
wow.
I'm willing to be the first person in line just to kind of get things started. When everybody's like, "Should we start? Should we go?" I'm like, "I'll do it. I'll go." So I consider that a form of hospitality, but it's not good
That
for
is.
health.
Listen. There are even for every strength, there's sort of a negative to every strength.
That's
So
right.
but you know what? At least that's an awesome gift to be hospitable. I think people really appreciate that. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's fascinating. I've never hospitality
I like to put a
eater. Is that what you
positive
called it?
spin on it.
Yeah,
Hospitality
that's
eater. Yeah.
that's great. That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still figuring out my my goals or my resolution. I guess
Mhm.
maybe that should be my resolution to stop procrastinating because that's something I'm really good at. Like I'll figure it out later. I'll do it.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, to figure it by year end, figure out my New Year's resolution.
Right. And then the
Yeah,
second one will be to stop procrastinating.
that's right. That's right. I like that.
Kids, don't follow in my footsteps. Okay. Well, this
So
has been
great.
so much fun. I've really enjoyed getting to talk to you today, and
Oh
I
yeah.
hope you have a really happy new year. Actually, before we end, I'd love to ask you to give us a memory from when you were a kid. So, do you have
Hmm.
a memory from when you were a kid?
Mm. Yeah, it's probably other than breaking my foot.
That's
There
terrible.
was another play in the middle of a play. There was another play I was doing. This was when I was, I think, sixth grade. I think sixth grade. I had just moved to Minnesota, Minneapolis, Minnesota. And so I jumped into the theater program there. And so we were doing a play called Where is the Mayor? I'm sure you've heard of it. I'm sure it's
It
been all over
escapes me.
Broadway. No, it's a I don't even know what the play is. But there was some, play for middle school and it's called Where's the Mayor? And I was playing a bad guy. I was playing a gangster. And halfway through, it was a two-act musical. And halfway through the first act, I accidentally said a line from the middle of the second act.
Oh no.
And normally people would just, in theater, sometimes that happens and you just fix it but what happened was every actor on stage just kept going from that point on, meaning when I said my wrong line in the middle of the first act, we immediately jumped to the middle of the second act. And what was supposed to be an hour and a half long play was 40 minutes
Oh no.
and made no sense. There were songs, there was storyline happening that no one followed, and nobody stopped it. And we bowed, and that was it. The 40-minute version of a hour and a half long show.
Where were the
And so
adults? Like, where was the director to go? We're just
I
gonna
don't.
start the next song and
Well,
not.
the director at that time was also the music director. So the director was sitting at the piano down on
Oh
the
no.
floor. So I don't think he didn't know what to do. I don't think because there was another song was coming up. He couldn't leave the piano to not play the song, and so he just he just went with it. And I think that was embarrassing and yet funny. It was a
It
funny
is
funny
funny.
moment as a kid. Yeah,
That's amazing. That is so funny. Well, Jon, thank you so much for being on the show today. This has been so fun, and I've laughed a lot. I've really enjoyed this.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks. I normally don't get to speak unless I have a script in front of me. So there you go.
There's no
I appreciate you.
teleprompter today.
There's no teleprompter. Thanks for letting me just talk. That's nice.
Yeah. Well, you have a happy new year, and have a great day.
All right. Hey, you as well. 2021, here we come.
Woohoo! That was so fun. He gave us some great principles about acting that totally apply to our lives. I mean, learning to be a good listener, to be authentic and honest, and to put ourselves in someone else's shoes are great ways to be a great actor, but also to be great in our friendships and relationships. And I loved when he said the fact that the creator of the universe empathizes with us is truly mind-blowing. It motivates us to look at our relationships and not judge others, but to care for each other just like Jesus would. That was so great. Well, now it's time for the kids only segment. This is always my favorite part of the show, and this is where you get to be on the podcast. So my first kids only guest for 2021, sharing the first joke of the year, is by my friend Jonah.
Hello, my name is Jonah Johnson, and I have a joke for you. If you want to read the gospel according to Shrek, open your Bible to Somebody Once Told Me.
Okay, I love that joke because I love the movie Shrek, so that's perfect. Thanks, Jonah. Well, now it's your turn. It's 2021. So if your New Year's resolution happens to be that you want to be on podcast, I have an idea for you. If you would like to share a joke or your favorite Bible verse, or maybe you have a question, or you want to give us your favorite quote, whatever you want to do, I'm always looking for people to send in stuff. So just have a grown-up help you go to my podcast website. It's anchor.fm/collidekidspod. And on that page, there's a place for you to leave me a message. You can find all this information on my social media pages. I'm on Facebook at the Collide Kids Podcast, and I'm on Instagram at Collide Kids Pod. If you are enjoying this podcast, it would mean so much to me if you would share it with your friends and family. Let them know that you're enjoying listening to the Collide Kids podcast. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so that new episodes will automatically load each week into whatever podcast app you're using. And give us a rating and a review on your podcast app. That actually does help other people find out about the show. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode and had as much fun as I did. And just to let you know, one of my New Year's resolutions this year is to pray for you. I know a lot of people say that. They say they're going to pray for you, but I really want to do that. I really want to pray for everyone that listens to this podcast, and I want to be more consistent about doing that. So I'm going to work on that, and if you have a prayer request or anything I can pray for, just send me a message. Let me know. Once again, Happy New Year. Thanks so much for listening to the show. In case no one has told you today, let me be the first to remind you. Let me be the first to remind you in 2021, God loves you. He loves you so much. Happy New Year.
You don't have to go very far looking for bad news because somehow it just finds you. So finding peace in the chaos can be really difficult, but it doesn't have to be because the River mobile app exists. The River is a Christian music radio station dedicated to playing music to help you get through life's toughest moments or life's happiest moments and everywhere in between. And all from artists who love Jesus and are real people just like you. Listening is easy. You can download it wherever you get apps from. Just search 1049 The River or listen online at riverradio.com. And know that The River is proud to partner with the Collide Kids podcast.